technology. So our capabilities span strategy, design, and technology. On the strategy side, that's things like business strategy, digital transformation, and design thinking. On the design side, that is user experience, motion, usability testing, accessibility. And on the technology side, it's anywhere from enterprise architecture, web and mobile applications,
So our
e-commerce,
capabilities span.
and data analytics. So, our roots are in engineering. We were an engineering firm to begin with. I'm a University of Toronto computer science grad, as well as my partner, Bill. And then our other partner, Jordy, is actually an engineering science graduate. So we were actually all programmers early days of the business, and we've expanded to do um, design and strategy work as well or better than anybody else in our industry. And uh, what we haven't forgotten is that technology at the end of the day is the foundation of all the work that we do. So we have a really great breadth of capabilities across building cloud infrastructure, web experiences, leveraging front-end technology, mobile experience, and all the middleware and orchestration layers that make all of that happen, integration with legacy systems. And then on the other side, we're always heavily investing into new cutting edge technologies such as AI, ML, OCR. We're looking at data strategy and helping our clients get their data into a place that can be leveraged by cutting edge AI platforms. And then all of the database work and the big data work that goes with that. Um, here are some great photos of our offices. Here is our Toronto office on this slide. Next, I have a couple photos of our Vancouver office. And here are some of the photos of our San Jose office. We also own and operate BrainStation as a separate business. BrainStation is Canada's largest digital learning company, and we're actually top 3 in the world at this point. Basically, everything that we do in our consulting business, we also teach the public. That's over 30 SKUs under data, development, design, product, marketing, and business. That both includes part-time courses that are 3 hours a week for about 10 weeks, or full-time courses that are a lot more hands-on, and 400-hour programs that our students take over 3 months. We actually took over this old building, which some of you may recognize. This used to be Backpackers Hostel at the corner of King and Spadina. We took over the space and did a really cool renovation project, partnering up with some architecture and design firms, and that's our Toronto campus. And actually, fun fact is Quantum Coffee Shop, which is at that corner as well, is also ours, and it's a great gateway to the community for us. We also have a BrainStation campus in Soho in New York, and a couple photos of that here. And then I wanted to quickly talk about some case studies of the work that we do. So as I was alluding to earlier, we're always investing in cutting edge technologies. And those are exploratory projects that we're doing with technologies that haven't reached mass adoption yet. And then as our clients are ready to adopt those technologies and those get to commercial ready and widespread adoption stage, we are there to help them implement that at a scale that allows the technology to be leveraged by millions of users globally. So in these examples, I'll show you how that actually manifests itself into some of the work that we do. One of the projects that we recently finished is with Clorox. So they have an app that allows you to scan a strip. This is a small strip that you can buy at a store. You can put this into the water in your pool, and then you can scan this with your phone. And based on the readings of the colors that are on this strip, it will come back with recommendations on the type of chemicals that you should add to your pool and in what ratios in order to make sure the water is safe. So we actually built all of this technology from the foundation. So all of the, image recognition, OCR side of it, to the training of the ML algorithm to allow us to detect the callers and do all the corrections and the comparisons, and then come back with recommendations, and built it into an enterprise app that our client can use and roll out to a very large user base across US and Canada. The second example is something where we are taking a technology that is already built in AI, and we're configuring that technology for our client. So Cadillac Fairview is one of the largest operators of commercial real estate in Canada. They own 19 malls across the country, including the Eaton Center. We've had a great partnership with them in the past year, and one of the problems we've specifically been solving with them is giving recommendations to their customers throughout their shopping journey. So for that, we're leveraging an AI experience that really goes into the shopping history or the search history of a user and a customer, and then comes back with recommendations on products that might be interesting to them. And then it helps them with wayfinding and pathfinding to get to that place within the mall or within the commercial property. So a couple examples of the cool work that we do and our team does. Come to our booth. I know there's a really great virtual experience where you can come to our booth, and our team will tell you a lot more about these projects and the other projects that we're working on. You can also go to our website, konrad.com/careers, to learn more about the opportunities to join us for either an internship or a full-time position. We've had a ton of growth in the past year, and we're continuing to hire as fast as we can to match the demand that we have right now for our services. The great work that our teams do really resonates with our clients, and we've seen a ton of growth where we are helping customers that can't connect with their clients in the physical world anymore to do that using digital technology, especially during this COVID situation. So, come and learn more about what we're doing. Thank you very much for having me today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the job fair.
Thank you so much, Human. That was great. We have Ethan Jackson, from a scientist from the Vector Institute, next, who's going to tell us more about. They're one of our sponsors. He's going to tell us more about the Vector Institute for Artificial Intelligence. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Hi, my name is Ethan Jackson, and I am indeed a staff scientist at the Vector Institute. I'm just going to go ahead and get my screen ready to share for you. Okay. All right, let's assume this is all working. Okay, can you see the slides? I'll assume yes. Perfect. Okay, thanks. So just a little bit about Vector, if you don't already know. So the Vector Institute is an independent, not-for-profit corporation dedicated to research in AI. I think most people would know us fundamentally as an AI research institute, and we do have a very large and growing number of faculty members and faculty-affiliated researchers. There's a really great picture from last year in the before times when we were all able to get together of our wonderful team. But what we do is a combination of core AI research and what I would describe as AI ecosystem development, where we're engaged, especially the behind the scenes professional staff members like myself, in making sure that the amazing research that's coming out of our from our researchers and our affiliated researchers groups is able to have an impact, especially in Ontario and in Canada, in a few key areas. So we work really, really closely with a number of industry partners who are also, some of whom are well represented at the conference today, but also with other stakeholders, and particularly in health. So to tell you a little bit more about what I do, I've been part of the Vector community for quite some time now, and I've been affiliated with Vector in a number of ways. So initially, in my capacity as a researcher during my graduate studies, I was a postgraduate affiliate, and this was a really, really great opportunity for me to become part of the research community at Vector and get access to all kinds of amazing research talks, and to be able to come to events like the one that you're at today, and really start to build a community of peers, which I think is incredibly important, especially right now when we're kind of feeling isolated from each other. Later, I was a postdoc with Graham Taylor, who's one of the faculty members at Vector. And actually, during the pandemic is when I made my shift to being part of the professional staff here. And the real reason that I came to Vector was to focus on opportunities to apply AI in health research and in health research implementation. I think a lot of us probably throughout the pandemic wanted to find a way to contribute to getting through this all together, and this is the way that I wanted to do it. So I thought the best way that I could give you an idea of what it's like to be at Vector is just to give you an idea of what I've been up to for the last week. Every week is different, and it's always an exciting place to be. And what I'll tell you about is one of my favorite research talks that I have seen in a little while, and a little bit of a preview of what's coming to Vector. And then I'll tell you a little bit about some of the collaborative work that we've been doing with our public partners and industry partners as part of our pandemic response efforts in health AI. So first, I'm really telling you this because I just thought it was so cool. So Jacob Forster is going to be a new faculty member at the University of Toronto Scarborough campus and a Vector Institute faculty member. And he gave an amazing talk for us at Vector earlier this week that is kind of centered around this game of Hanabi. And the reason why this is so interesting is because it's a cooperative game. If you haven't played it before, it's a cooperative game in which you're trying to achieve a shared objective with the other players, but you have to kind of develop a way of communicating with each other in a really, really interesting way, such that you reach this shared objective. And the main reason why I think this is so interesting is because it's showing us that there are ways that we can rethink the frameworks of reinforcement learning to be less about kind of greedy optimization and more about collaborative optimization. And as we're thinking about what the barriers are to applying reinforcement learning in some industry settings, or in healthcare settings, or in applications like autonomous vehicles, for example, it's really, really important to start to think of ways that agents are going to be interacting with each other in a collaborative way instead of necessarily just a competitive way. So I think that this is a really good example of hot off the press research that is going to have a huge potential for changing the way that we think about deploying AI in these different application areas. So that was a great start to the week. That was on Monday and got my brain buzzing. And then for the rest of the week, I spent a lot of time collaborating with some of each of these sponsors or partners or just collaborators on this list. And this is just a very, very small subset of the groups that we have the privilege of working with. But for example, we're currently working as part of our pandemic response efforts with a few of the ministries in the government of Ontario, and not surprisingly with the Ministry of Health, And we had a really great conversation last week about this shared objective that we have, which is to try to understand what data are missing from the pandemic response. So with testing data, for example, we know that access to testing is not equal across the province and is not implemented equally across the province. And so there are a number of blind spots in the data that are kind of hindering our ability to have a full understanding of what's going on with the pandemic in all regions of the province. So we're actively collaborating with them on data scientific methods to try to understand or even use machine learning to predict in what areas could there be undetected cases and with what confidence. That's really cool. Another collaboration that we have is also with the Ministry of Health, but also with some other key players like ICES, who are really well known in our community for enabling access to health data in Ontario, and are collaborating with a number of other stakeholders to launch the Ontario Health Data Platform, which, if you haven't heard of this is a forthcoming platform that is going to enable population level health data research for patients or residents of the province of Ontario, and this will be kind of unprecedented in scale. We're specifically interested in using this to create predictive risk models for adverse outcomes in long-term care, which of course has been completely devastated by the pandemic. So we're hoping to be able to at least create insights so that if anything like this ever happens again, we'll have a better understanding of what interventions can be applied more effectively. Another great partnership that we have is with the Michener Institute here in Toronto, and we're really focusing on helping to develop the next generation of AI literate clinicians. So we're collaborating with a very, very highly interdisciplinary team that includes clinicians and scientists and educators to make sure that all of the great work that we're doing collectively as the AI community in Toronto, but also in Ontario and in Canada, is being communicated to clinicians such that they can actually start to have confidence and deploy these in hospitals and clinics. And then what's taking up probably 90% of my time these days is another collaboration with our partners. Most interestingly here, I would say with TELUS, who's one of our industry partners, and through their Data for Good initiative, they've enabled us to do some really amazing work using mobile data device patterns to contribute to pandemic response forecasting. So just to give you a little bit of a sense of that, we've been finding that using aggregated but still pretty highly granular and de-identified cell phone data, we've been able to keep our finger on the pulse using AI forecasting models of how interregional travel in the province of Ontario, and especially spikes in interregional travel, are contributing to, unfortunately, case spikes in areas in different areas of the province. So we're running a pretty large research, but also kind of information campaign that communicates this directly to our partners and stakeholders in the government. So this is kind of an example of what we can do when we combine, when you get industry and healthcare and provincial government partners sitting at the same table. And lastly, this is, a little cheesy, but I kind of made this more for myself than for anybody else. But I think especially right now, we're talking about AI for good as a central theme, and that extends well beyond this conference. And I was just reflecting on what does that mean to me? And for me, it means these things like AI for good, for health, that is my main driver, for people, for nature, but also for art and for fun. And I think that if we create communities and seek out communities like we all are today at this conference, that are inclusive, positive, vibrant, diverse, then all of these things will extend naturally. So just taking a pause out of the pandemic to remember the importance of community building, and I think all of these things will come naturally. Finally, I just wanted to tell you about some fantastic opportunities while I have your attention, and I'm so thankful for that. Vector does have an AI scholarship program for incoming master's students. Please visit the Vector booth today for more details to learn about this. These scholarships are valued at $17,500 and enable all kinds of great opportunities to get connected with our faculty. We also have lots of other academic partnership programs, and in general, something that's not mentioned here, that we do have internship programs as well. So expect there to be postings for internship programs to work at Vector in the kinds of projects that I've told you about today. And you may see these coming up closer to the end of the semester as we look to bring on summer students. So I think I'm a little over time, but thank you so much. And that's all I've got for you today.
Thank you, Ethan, for that very detailed and very passionate talk. I think we all learned a lot about Vector and the very relevant work that you're doing. So thank you.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.